Indeed, and because of that, we start off at that point. The demonstration on Tuesday against the finance bill was characterized by young people who mobilized themselves using social media in a clear shift. Unlike the previous demonstrations led by politicians with pockets of hooligans armed with stones and crude weapons, the protest had a new crop of mainly English-speaking young people ready to engage the police officers on discourse on matters' rights.
Their mobilization kicked off on Monday through social media, some even tagging their legislators, warning them they were the employers and watching their moves on the finance bill. The self-proclaimed keyboard warriors using all social media spaces to whip up and showcase their cause.
We have a voice and we are here to use it. That's why we are demonstrating today, to show that without mincing our words, the youth of Kenya strongly reject the finance bill as it stands today.
The mobilization used hashtag Occupy Parliament and Reject Finance Bill, some too countering the call with hashtag Ruto Listens. And on Tuesday, a new crop of demonstrators took over the streets of the city with no politician rallying them, no Tibim or Tialala, but polished English and phones even to live stream themselves, taking advantage of the free Wi-Fi in the city.
I actually have it in my bag and the bills are crazy, taxation on medication.
I understand very well what is going on in the finance bill, and I know that we've borrowed from the IMF so that we can pay the Eurobond and the Chinese.
Nimesoma na kuelewa, lakini sasa katika ile mikakati ambao wameiweka ni kama inaenda kuaffect, inaenda kunyanyanza.
Even in the police vehicles, they were taking selfies, oblivious of what awaited them. With majority of the demonstrators being young people, they say they will not rest until the finance bill, which they term as impunitive and ridiculous, is either revised or put down. Reporting for KBC Channel 1, I'm Alvin Counder.
The devil is in the details, and as we saw the new face of demonstrators from the usual crop of hooligans and older generation, the youth took their conversations from online to the streets. We wait to see if this is going to persist in other demonstrations across the country, if indeed we ever have them, because today eyes still return to Parliament. The debate is going to be about the report that was tabled yesterday afternoon and some of the issues that have been raised after the government made the concessions that it did. How does it intend to bridge that particular gap? Talking about parliamentarians is that Azimio members of Parliament have rejected the Finance Bill 2024, terming it detrimental to the economy. The MPs who held a parliamentary gathering in Parliament yesterday evening resolved to vote against the Finance Bill Thursday.
We also demand the outright dropping of the proposal by the Transport Cabinet Secretary to increase fuel levy by Kenya shillings 9 per litre. We are against this idea that transport, which includes the movement of goods and people, is some kind of luxury that this country can do without. Without movement of goods and people, we have no economy to talk about. As a coalition, we reject the entire bill. Yes. 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 And demand its total withdrawal.
Power. Vitu wameweka vitu nyingi wameficha huko ndani. Halafu wanatudanganya ati sasa wametoa zile watu walikuwa wanapigania kelele. Tafadhali hatujakubali na tutakataa na mpaka watafanya kile Wakenya wanataka.
We resist, we refuse, and whatever they say from today onwards is null and void. Let them just make noise.
Well, those are the views of the Azimio allied members of Parliament, and we might have just brought you what they said before telling you exactly what the Finance Committee proposed. So in its proposal, the Finance Committee has a report in the increased railway revenue development fund and import declaration fee by at least 1% each to fill the deficit after the removal of some of the proposed taxes in the 2024 finance bill. Addressing the media after tabling the report Tuesday, National Assembly Finance and National Planning Committee Chair Manyara said the bill will manage to finance the budget by 320 billion shillings. This comes as debate on the report is set to begin today morning.
Unlike the norm, members of Parliament on Tuesday afternoon turned up in their numbers for the afternoon sitting in anticipation of the tabling of the Finance Bill 2024 report.
Honourable members, we have quorum to transact business.
The report, which was tabled later Tuesday afternoon.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, the 18th of June, 2024. The report on the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning on its consideration of the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2024.
Now leaves the ball in the legislator's court as Kenyans continue to push for the amendments of the contentious clauses in the Finance Bill 2024.
I encourage each and every honourable member to get the report either from the table office physically or on the parliamentary web. Read through it properly.
But even after the removal of the said contentious taxes, Finance Committee Chair Manyara says the budget will still be financed.
I have said radio development levy increased by 1 percentage point, IDF increased by 1 percentage point, and reduction on tax expenditures.
With the report now in the hands of the legislators, debate is set to kick off Wednesday morning. MPs resolving to sit on Thursday morning to conclude on debate ahead of afternoon sitting.
I have directed the clerk that the closure for submitting amendments will be on Thursday at 1 p.m. So those of you who want to file an amendments upon reading the report and the bill, ensure that you file your amendments at or before Thursday, 1 p.m.
Voting on the bill is set to take place next week.
And exactly at 9 o'clock, we're going to be taking you to Parliament buildings where we're going to be starting that conversation ahead of the voting. Some of the issues that have already been pointed at is that particular report, the committee has recommended the amendment of Section 51 of the Data Protection Act. This means that it will now be possible for KRA to access personal data. Those are just some of the issues that have been raised in that particular report and have elicited a lot of debate. And talking about the debate, local manufacturing had to say something about the immediate wins that they got, and it is among the main beneficiaries of the amendments that have been made. Now, looking at the manufacturing sector, that it tends to raise its contribution to GDP to from 7 all the way to 20% by 2027. The removal, the exemption of eco-levy from all manufactured goods has been termed, locally manufactured goods has been termed as a win for the sector. Here's a report. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers, in its submissions to the National Planning and Finance Committee and the Finance Bill 2024, argued that the eco-levy was a duplicate of existing levy mandated under extended producer responsibility schemes that would likely reverse Kenya's initiatives to create a circular economy.
Still a mandatory requirement in Kenya, and what we are saying is that, there are no guarantees that even that 50 billion is going to be allocated purely to NEMA and the county government so that they're able to collect that waste in the environment.
According to the manufacturers, eco-levy, if enacted, would have nearly doubled the packaging cost by 100% in cases where the cost of the raw materials is equal to the proposed levy. For instance, a bar of soap used for washing clothing, utensils and bathing would increase from 170 shillings to approximately 270 shillings.
Cement, detergents, eco-levy. Look at the batteries. Your car battery is 12 kgs. The cost, 8,500. The levy now, 9,000.
However, the proposed exemption provides a buffer against imports and is likely to spur uptake of locally produced goods.
Imposing this on locally manufactured goods would again increase the cost of those locally manufactured goods in the country and stand a risk of making them not competitive in the East African market and globally. Therefore, this eco-levy will only be chargeable to imported finished products.
As such, locally manufactured products including sanitary towels, diapers, phones, computers, tires and motorcycles will not attract the eco-levy. On the other hand, the cost of spirits and liqueurs is likely to increase after the committee maintained that alcoholic beverages will now be taxed on basis of alcohol content and not volume.
Therefore, those alcohol manufacturers that are producing alcohol of very high content will now be required to pay higher duty because based on the alcohol content, and those making alcohol of lower content now will pay less duty.
The higher the alcohol content, the more excess duty it will attract. The courier-led team has also imposed excise duty on imported table eggs, onions and potatoes.
It makes our onions, our eggs and our potatoes more marketable to us and the region.
A welcome move to farmers, but consumers will continue to shoulder the high cost of production. However, the proposals remain as proposals till tabled, debated, voted and adopted by Parliament and assented to for implementation. And that particular process to debate and eventually vote on the proposed amendments to the draft Finance Bill of 2024 begin today at Parliament House at 9 a.m. And we seek to find out what other details are contained in that report that was tabled yesterday afternoon. And quick question. Why do we have public participation and involvement in the budget making committee? Well, this is enshrined in the Constitution under Article 118 Clause B. Here's Trevor Ngendo with the details of how we came to be active and not passive participants in the budget making process.
The 2024-2025 budget-making process will perhaps go down in history as one that attracted discourse among Kenyans, giving impetus to Articles 118 and 196 of the Constitution that requires Parliament and county assemblies to facilitate public participation and involvement of the citizens in the legislative process.
We do not want our senior citizens to miss out in the Inua Jamii program, because if then we transfer 2,000 shillings to them, but every interaction of using the 2,000 becomes very costly to them.
Kisha ya kwamba iko tax free, so that this child akipata mkati, a bite, can go to school.
It's already difficult. We are not getting jobs, so we have opted for online. Now, introducing this will make life very difficult for us.
In an unprecedented move, Kenyans used various digital platforms to conduct civic education campaigns on the specifics of the finance bill. A digital campaign that would end with a section of Kenyans pouring onto the streets, demanding to have their voices incorporated in proposals to the Finance Committee. A push that prompted the Finance Committee chair to share details of the committee's recommendations prior to tabling the report in Parliament.
That public participation would not be an exercise in futility. We have listened to the view of Kenyans, and we are all in agreement that there are two things that we must do.
As the debate on the bill moves to Parliament, it is not lost that this year's budget-making process is one that ignited a citizen consciousness on governance. The Finance Committee received over 700 written submissions, and various stakeholders, including unions, institutions and associations, making time to submit their views on the bill that will guide government's expenditure and revenue-generating plans.
Focusing on conversations about Gen Z, they would say that now the citizens are woke. Talking about governance, is that county governments are urging the Kenya Revenue Authority to scrap the taxing of own tax revenue at the current 16% rate if counties are to fully utilize their collections. Finance, Planning and Economic Affairs Chairperson at the Council of Governors, Fernandez Barasa, says it is in talks with the national government on how to address the issue.
Counties have a cumulative own-source revenue collection potential of 216 billion shillings, but currently only collects around 45 billion shillings. This according to the latest Commission on Revenue Allocation Studies. The focus is now on various strategies to help counties bolster their revenue to optimum levels.
When counties are able to collect their own source revenue, which supports the budget, then at the end of the year, they will not be having that animal we call pending bills.
This was revealed during the launch of the country's first ever tariffs and pricing policy for county governments by CRA. According to the report, 23 counties are using the defunct municipal bylaws to guide own-source revenue collection.
There has been widespread complaints, as it has just been alluded, from traders, exporters and companies about high and unjustified charges, as well as the multiplicity of fees and charges across the country, and action was prompted by that.
All the 47 counties can now enact specific revenue streams and laws to facilitate all source revenue. It will also help us, of course, to bridge the gap that we've been having.
When you do these calculations, there's a need for government to also pay contribution in lieu of rates. These were last paid prior to devolution.
However, the government would also like to see accelerated adoption of policies that will see growth of local businesses and general trade.
I want to assure that the concerns that have been raised by the governors, these are issues that we can be able to look into for the benefit of each and every county.
I encourage county governments to expedite their adoption of the model swiftly and proceed to domesticate it to comply with Section 120 of the County Governments Act.
The new tariffs and pricing policy is meant to eliminate duplicity, multiplicity, undervaluation and overvaluation of county services, including the increase in transparency in revenue collection.
Another quagmire for the counties there, other than that particular rate of 16%, they have to ingest a cool 98 billion that is to be released by Treasury by the end of this financial year. That is shy of 2 weeks. To sports. The Athletics Kenya National Trials for the World Under-20 Championship will be held at the Manyara National Stadium from the 26th to the 28th of this month. Athletics Kenya has issued stringent measures to ensure that only the athletes in that stage category compete at the event. The top 2 athletes in this category will make Team Kenya, that will fly the country's flag at the World Under-20 Championship to be held in Lima, Peru from the 27th to the 31st of August this year. Athletics Kenya hopes to select a team that will better their predecessors' performance in Cali, Colombia 2 years ago, where Kenya emerged to collect a total of 10 medals, 3 gold, 3 silver and 4 bronze medals.
Laps ago, he's working hard. Yahune then it is, digging in deep, 50 metres to go for the Ethiopian. Mabratu it is, who's finishing really, really strong. His fellow Eritrean follows him home for the bronze medal. Belu it was of Ethiopia in 4th position.
Well, that effectively puts a couple of matters in the headlines this morning. Be sure to peruse our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke, for further details. And we leave you with one question as we enter debate mode at Parliament this morning at 9 a.m. in regard to the proposed finance bill of 2024, albeit with amendments, as you know, announced by Kimani Kuria yesterday. They're the chair of the finance committee there of the National Assembly. Is that how then does the government intend to bridge that particular gap? 58 billion shillings was to be raised from motor vehicle tax. Now that it is not there, how does the government intend to bridge that particular gap? The proposals on fuel levy might just be where it hurts. The devil is in the details. I'm Regina Manyara. Have a pleasant viewing ahead.